fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's going with the outside of both of them. Maloney!
Oh, he's taking Anderson. Anderson's up to
Oh my God!
Oh.
Big crash. Oh my goodness, half the field's going to get rolled.
Six very close. These guys are going to want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, there we go. Oh no, that's massive. This is it. This is over. I can't believe this. Oh my God.
God, what?
The following is a Carter's Tires. What's stopping you?
Have you ever thought about what's stopping you? Carter's Tires is New Zealand's largest independent tyre dealer. 100% New Zealand owned and operated, they supply tyres to the biggest trucks and to the smallest family wagons. From tractors to racing cars. From the far north to the deepest south, Carter's Tyres fit the right tyres to the right vehicle. They sell 10 brands, not just one or two. And with over 20 years in the business, you can trust their tyres are as reliable as their word.
Carter's Tires. What's stopping you?
So, what's stopping you?
All right, and welcome back everybody to night 2 of our Tasman Kart supported 3-night series of our KartSport events here. We're coming to you live from Belgium this evening at the Spa circuit. GT3 vehicles, same as what we ran last week as well. That's the same formula we're using for the next 3 weeks. Obviously last week Phillip Island, this week we've made the trip across to Belgium. And we've got a slightly different race format for you this evening as well too. So a 20-minute qualifying, then 3 short, sharp and fast 8-lap heats this evening. So longer lap at Spa, obviously. Joining me in the commentary box tonight, we've got Travis Smith. And then also on behalf of our Tasman Karts, we've got Tony Dyer as well too. So evening, Travis. How you going?
Not bad.
Excellent,
Here
mate.
for another week.
That's right. So after Phillip Island last week, it should be one hell of an evening. I think from what you've said, we've had plenty of people do quite a bit of testing, and Spa certainly lends itself to some really big passing opportunities. Terminal speed's quite high, similar to Phillip Island in places, and probably some of the most famous corners on the World Motorsport stage. So, as we said, 20-minute qualifying. That's going to give us the grid for race 1, full reverse grid for race 2, and then we're going to add up our points for the heats, and that's going to give us our grid for race 3. So, as we said, 8 laps. So, some short, sharp, fast action this evening. Continuing on from last week and going into next week, Tasman Karts kindly supporting our 3-week events here. Tasman Karts obviously running out of Nelson, and as we said, we've got Tony Dyer joining us this evening. Welcome along, Tony.
Yeah, g'day TC, g'day Travis. Thanks for having me.
No problems at all, mate. No problems at all. It's obviously Brendan's said he's quite busy, so we've had to substitute him out, and we've got you on the comm box tonight. So good to have you along. We'll be getting you in and out and getting some expert commentary off you with all your GT3 experience at Spa, no doubt tonight, mate.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Excellent. You're probably just as experienced as me, mate. So, so it's a heap of fun, and we'll be splashing around the commentary box and going back with some forwards all night, and we'll see what GT3 is going to bring us tonight at Spa. So straight away you can see, obviously we're into our 20-minute qualifying, and got a couple of familiar names there. And P2 SVG's come back this week, back in the McLaren, which is great to see. And those boys obviously got all sorts going on the V8 Supercar calendar at the moment, with Victoria shutting their borders, and so obviously all the Victorian Supercar teams have had to vacate and make their way to Sydney Motorsport Park. We'll probably talk more about that as we go along. So yeah, as we said, great to have SVG joining us again tonight, and some more familiar names as we go down that order there, Travis.
Yeah, Zach Blinco's at the top of the board at the moment. Got his lap done early, so interesting to see if anyone can get ahead of him as the session goes on. Ollie Workman up in 7th. He's put in a lap. Mike Muir in 8th. I think Mike's in top 10 in points at the moment, so interesting to see how he goes tonight.
Yeah, that's right. And we'll obviously talk more about those points. You've got the points from last week, and we'll be firing back onto those later on. You can give us a bit of a rundown of that top 10 for people that'd be interested. So as we go through it, obviously Zach Blinco's been doing nearly every evening that we've had. So once again, like the real world stuff, experience does pay off. Cameron Freeman, the Invercargill driver there in P3. The Wayne Phipps entry of young Aston Phipps, the Junior Max driver running out of Auckland, the Lascon Motorsport supported driver there. And as we said, we've got some really familiar names as we go down that order. Ollie Workman doing a really good job, as you said. Got his sort of simulator fairly rushed halfway through lockdown, and looks like he's really come to terms with that, got that all tuned up, and he's running inside that top 10 to start off with. And a couple of other names as we go down the order there. See Paul Blomqvist just jumped into shot there for a second. So got quite a few experienced household names in there. Some young karters and some experienced sim racers. So we're ticking every box tonight as we go on board with young Paulie Blomqvist, the Auckland resident, downforce driving instructor, and spent a lot of time racing GT3 Porsche up in Europe, up in Sweden this year, last year should we say. So Paulie very experienced in everything he's turned his hand to, and these days a full-time driving instructor. Not sure if he's actually done any laps at Spa. No doubt his older brother Tom Blomqvist, obviously a well-known name, done plenty of European racing, and Paul certainly actually did. Yeah, he did win the 24-hour here, young Tom. So that's Paul's older brother. So he's no doubt might have passed on a few tips to Paul this evening, and we'll see if Paul can put that into action and see if he can keep all the panels straight on that BMW. So obviously he's keeping it real and ran the BMW just like his brother's been running overseas in previous years. So 9 minutes to go there, and a couple more of our familiar names popping into up the top there, young Blake Dowdle and Taylor Cockerton there, Travis.
Yeah, another couple of regulars. I see our lovely race official from Wellington, Simon's back in for another night of racing.
Perfect.
And a few of our FTR Dunedin boys have come into battle as well. I know they're pretty competitive with one another. So you've got Mike Muir, Chris Cayford, Leroy Stevenson, Daniel Harvey. No doubt there might be a bit of argy-bargy between them tonight.
Yeah, perfect. Now let's try and rip some panels off these things. I think we've got damage turned on tonight as well. Is that right, Travis?
That is correct. We have got damage turned on tonight, so can't hit anyone and get away with it.
Perfect. That's going to keep everyone in line. Hopefully, we'll see how that pans out. So Leroy Stevenson. That's a name from the past that we see pop up there, and it's really cool to see some of these old names. And as you said, Simon Burling-Claridge, our resident Wellington steward there, representing the stewards tonight. So that's really cool to have him back on board. And Darren Hazelby, like I said, the list is massive, and we're going to have probably a couple of servers to sort out at the end of this. So a little under just over 7.5 minutes to go, and a couple of other names popping up there. Andrew Waite, he's the resident driving instructor down at Highlands Motorsport Park in Cromwell, and so Waitey's been based down there for a long time. Auckland, Mount Wellington karter, very successful, and a lot of stuff he turned his hand to. Formula Ford, TRS, so very experienced driver now. Does a lot of endurance driving when he gets the chance. And so some more footage here of Paul Blomqvist running that ever-famous Muzz Minion Motorsport livery there. There's a hell of a long story that goes to that. I'm actually not too sure of it, but no doubt Paul or SVG might enlighten us at some stage on that. So here we go, Blake Dowdle, P2 at the moment. Season campaigner, I suppose you could say. He's been running with us nearly every night of our KartSport series. So really good to see these regulars coming back. And as we said, experience does pay off, especially in the GT3 stuff. We touched on it last week. The vehicles really run a lot of aero, so they really promote quite a brave driver. Trying to keep that terminal mid-corner speed up to actually keep some lateral grip in the car, because these cars certainly do produce a hell of a lot of downforce. So they do reward a brave driver at times, but they can be quite knife-edgy to drive if you get outside that window. So as we said, damage tonight, that is on, and so we'll see how effective people can make that aero work, and see if anyone can keep it off the walls. So about 6 minutes to go, and we'll see our leaderboard sort of changing ever so slightly. SVG's jumped down to 5th there. Paul Blanca's turning a good lap, P5. Zane Hills, P6. He's been really successful, just over a second margin there. So those boys are going to want to pull their socks up a little bit. Braden Snowden, the Whangarei driver, running out of P8 there. Nathan Anderson, all these familiar names from previous week. Aston Fitz dropped down to 11th at the moment, just under 2 seconds off P1 there. And going back down our order, Oscar Goldfinch, Phil Winter, Sonny Harwood, as we said, all those people that we've seen prior. So as we go on board the nose here of Cameron Freeman, so some really, really good footage as we head up, and I think it looks up into turn 7, up the Kemmel Straight here at Spa. Some really, really fast sections, big, heavy braking zones. So should be providing a hell of a lot of passing this evening, and quite a wide racetrack through the whole complex as well too. So I suppose in real life, SVG is probably really the only one that's actually turned a lap here in real life. So might even keep an eye on and Shane and see how that experience does show up. So as we said, Tony Dyer's joining us in the comm box tonight. Tony's resident Briggs driver, does a lot of travelling with the Tasman Karts team, and obviously well into our club days now. Tony, how's sort of the club day feel going down the Nelson Blenheim region at the moment, mate?
Yeah, we've both clubs have had a meeting each. We've just come off the 2-day meeting in Marlborough. Big meeting for just a club day. We had over 70 entries.
Excellent.
It was really, really good.
Yeah, no, that's cool. And so you're obviously still running the Briggs formula as well as a little bit of open stuff as well at times?
Yeah, just trying to mix it up a little bit. Generally a lot easier to run the Briggs. As you know, that open can be a little bit difficult to run at times, and it's just easy to run the Briggs from time to time. Yeah,
no, that's right. And obviously you spend a little bit of time travelling up north with the 4-hour Briggs Enduro and other various meetings that we run out of Wellington. So Briggs certainly a good formula. It's something I've enjoyed being involved in. It's certainly back to basics and does promote sort of a very, very smooth drive. You've got to drive the things very calculated, drive the kart very straight, and certainly something, a lot of things I try and teach a lot of kids in coaching that I do. So certainly a product I've enjoyed, and you've enjoyed a lot of success in it as well too, haven't you, mate?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, the first thing is just have a bit of fun, and if a little bit of success comes along the way, well, it's just a bonus.
Yeah, that's right. So, and obviously some really big numbers with the Briggs stuff as well. I think between the Nelson and Blenheim clubs down there, and so between Wellington as well, some really big engine sales from what I've heard.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's sort of sold about it's over 40 engines, I think, so far. So that's good going.
Yeah, no, that's right. So, and yeah, you do see different formulas thriving in different areas of the country. Obviously, Briggs is very popular. That sort of Wellington, Nelson Blenheim region. When you get up to sort of Palmy, Taranaki area here, sort of the Racket 120 is sort of fairly well ingrained. So it sort of depends on the demographic where you're racing, where you're driving, and it's really cool to see the Briggs have a really big following in Wellington and down your way. So back to qualifying. So we've got about 2.5 minutes left. We're just on board there with Paul Blancas for a short period. So Paulie's jumped up behind his Muzminian Motorsport teammate there, SVG P6, Paulie in P7. And as we go on board here now with SVG and his McLaren, obviously, as you can see, similar livery there with Paul Blancas with the fluoro yellow and the white on the car. So very similar to the old BAR livery there, really quite cool. And Shane's still chipping away there, 7/10 off the lead at the moment. And as we go up through turn 3, 4 and 5 up through Eau Rouge, probably 3 of the most famous corners in motorsport in the world. Real fast run, real long run up through the Kemmel Straight that takes you up into the complex through Los Coombe, through 7, 8 and 9, over to the back edge of the circuit through turn 10 and 11 through Brussels, and then back through 12 and over the back edge of the circuit. So over 21 corners making up the Spa circuit, so it is a really, really big lap as we see Shane pushing on down through towards that 10 and 11 complex. So turn 10, big downhill, a little bit of camber on it as you drop down to the right, and then up into turn 11, short run up into 12, and 12 is actually sort of a bit of a double apex, quite a long left-hander here at Spa, and sort of just the radius just keeps going and going and going. Really promotes quite a got to be quite patient. Don't get bring the throttle up too early. Try and get the wheel nice and straight down to 13 and 14, and the last sort of technical sections before you come up to the chicane into the pit entry and the La Source, which is essentially turn 1, the hairpin before you come up to Eau Rouge. So we'll see if Shane can get an improvement. So up through sector 2, 57.233, and no doubt Shane will be trying to improve on his previous time. Taylor Cockerton there in P5. We know Taylor's very experienced. Done a hell of a lot of karting, a lot of formula stuff in Asia and overseas, and so very experienced driver in real life and on the sim stuff as well too. So time ticking away there, 5 seconds to go for qualifying on our group Giltrap group leaderboard there. So I don't think we're going to get much of a change. Is Shane going to punch one out? And probably not quite. So just through to the top there, right at the last second. So just judging by his earlier sectors, didn't look like he was actually going to put much of a stormer on there, but Shane's managed to pop him off 1.2 seconds. That's a massive margin. So really impressive finish by SVG. He must have been just keeping that waiting for us till the end of the qualifying there. He's really popped that out at the last second. Nice clean lap by him in the final couple of sectors there, and pulled out a massive margin on P2 there, Zach Blinko. So still got a couple of people finishing their laps off. Andrew Waite's one of them, and so no improvement for Andrew. He's still down there in P10, and Blake Dowdle here, so running in P5. He's obviously had time to start another lap just in time. But so far, SVG P1, Zach Blinko P2, Zane Hills. He's popped up a fair way up into that leaderboard there, P3. Number 4, Brad Wenslick. 5, who we're running on board with now, Blake Dowdle. Taylor Cockerton there, P6, as Blake comes to finish his lap off. And we won't see an improvement from him. Yes, we will. P3, well done. So he's 1.3 off SVG. So that's a good improvement from Blake. And down towards our top 10, Taylor Cockerton, Paul Blomqvist and Braden Snowden. Braden Snowden doing a really good job tonight. Must have been doing a little bit of testing as we jump on board here with Mitchell Sparrow in 9th place at the moment. He's going to finish off another lap as well. You probably would have watched some of the previous footage that we've had, Tony. We've had some absolute stellar liveries. So we've got a bright pink number here tonight for young Mitchell Sparrow. And we might even see maybe another Simon Evans livery as well there tonight as well too. So young Mitchell just finishing his lap off, coming down into the final chicane here at Spa, turn 19 and turn 20. So he's had a bit of a moment there. So we just jump on here with Niraj Lala, and he's yet to turn a time actually. And so he's obviously coming late into the server. He's going to try and pop a time in. He's already had a little bit of mischief already. He's missing his bonnet already. So that's obviously not the ideal start for his evening. He'll be getting that fixed before the next race, and go from there. So that concludes our qualifying there, team. Really great to have SVG along. He's in P1. We'll just go to a short ad break, and then we'll be back with race 1 very shortly. 8 laps. Looking forward to it.
This is fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's going around the outside of both of them. Maloney!
Oh, he's taken Anderson. Anderson's up the wall.
Oh my god! Big crash! Oh my goodness, half the field's gonna get rolled!
Six very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, there we go. Oh no! That's massive! This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my god!
God, what? Carter's tires. What's stopping you?
Have you ever thought about what's stopping you? Carter's Tyres is New Zealand's largest independent tyre dealer. 100% New Zealand owned and operated, they supply tyres to the biggest trucks and to the smallest family wagons. From tractors to racing cars. From the far north to the deepest south, Carter's Tyres fit the right tyres to the right vehicle. They sell 10 brands, not just one or two. And with over 20 years in the business, you can trust their tyres are as reliable as their word.
Carter's tires. What's stopping you?
So, what's stopping you?
The most realistic online racing sim ever made. This is iRacing. Detailed laser scan tracks, fully dynamic real world cars, and over 50 series to choose from. 6 online world championships offering over $100,000 in annual prizes. This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
is a presentation of the iRacing Esports Network.
Carter's Tires, what's stopping you?
Have you ever thought about what's stopping you? Carter's Tyres is New Zealand's largest independent tyre dealer. 100% New Zealand owned and operated, they supply tyres to the biggest trucks and to the smallest family wagons. From tractors to racing cars. From the far north to the deepest south, Carter's Tyres fit the right tyres to the right vehicle. They sell 10 brands, not just one or two. And with over 20 years in the business, you can trust their tyres are as reliable as their word.
Carter's Tires, what's stopping you?
So, what's stopping you?
This is fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's going around the outside of both of them. Maloney!
Oh, he's taking Anderson. Anderson's up top
Oh
here.
my god! Oh, big crash. Oh my goodness, half the field's going to get rolled.
Six very close. These guys I want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, there we go. Oh no, that's massive. This is it. This is over. I can't believe this. Oh my god.
God, what?
The most realistic online racing sim ever made. This is iRacing. Detailed laser scan tracks, fully dynamic real world cars, and over 50 series to choose from. 6 online world championships offering over $100,000 in annual prizes. This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
Carter's Tires, what's stopping you?
Have you ever thought about what's stopping you? Carter's Tyres is New Zealand's largest independent tyre dealer. 100% New Zealand owned and operated, they supply tyres to the biggest trucks and to the smallest family wagons. From tractors to racing cars. From the far north to the deepest south, Carter's Tyres fit the right tyres to the right vehicle. They sell 10 brands, not just one or two. And with over 20 years in the business, you can trust their tyres are as reliable as their word.
Carter's Tires, what's stopping you?
So, what's stopping you?
All right, welcome back, race fans. Here we are for race 1 at Spa. GT3, as we said, our 20-minute qualifying session has been run and won by number 97, SVG, our Australian-based Red Bull 888 Motorsport driver. So great to have Shane back this evening. And he's done an absolute stellar lap on his last lap of qualifying. Just pulled one out of the bag. And just going through the live timing from qualifying now. He's done an absolute stellar job. So here we are. We're into it already by the look of it. We've been caught short. Rolling start here. And up through turn 3, 4 and 5 up through Eau Rouge. So clean start so far. And SVG is going to run all the way up the Kimmel straight up to the left. Up into 7 and 8. And so far so good. Really clean start. And as we said, we're running damage on tonight, and so it's everyone seems to be keeping their nose clean so far, which is good. So good shot here of the Musmania Motorsport teammates of Andrew Waite and Paul Blomqvist. You'll see the similar colours there. So massive moment up there, and that looks like Zane Hills has had a bit of a moment, which is a bit of a shame because he was one of our top qualifiers. and he's been fairly active through our whole KartSport series. So, bit of a shame for Zane. He'll put his head down, and he'll try and push on back through the up through the order there, as we go back down through the running order here. So we're keeping on sort of 4th, 5th, and 6th place here. Paul Blomqvist here leading us out in that leading pack there in P4 in the BMW GT3 there, doing a nice job. You can see Paul really opening up the corners, trying to use as much of the circuit as possible, trying to make those straights as long as possible. So Paul's doing a really, really good job. And Blake Dowdle there. So he's got a really experienced campaigner behind him, and Blake there in P5. And as we see Nathan Anderson using all the track and then some. So as Blake Dowdle's filling up Paul Blomqvist's mirrors, as we head around the long left-hand turn, Paul's going to have to keep an eye on proceedings here behind him. Blake certainly looks like he's on a bit of a mission. And as we go, just have a quick look at our leaders there, as Paul's had a moment into the final chicane there. So Paul's overrun a little bit, just outbraked himself. We are still running on cold tyres, so he'll just be waiting for that tyre temperature to come up a little bit. And he'll slot in front of his teammate as Blake Dowdle chops Paul's nose off as we get into La Source, the last hairpin, before they head up to Eau Rouge. So SVG building himself a nice little margin there, 1.6 seconds over Taylor Cockerton, and then just under 2 seconds back to Zach Blinko in P3 there. So Travis, you were saying in our commentary break that we might have seen a little bit of carnage at turn 1, but so far so good, mate.
Yeah, it was a lot tidier than what I was expecting. Obviously the rolling start must have helped out a wee bit. So it was good to see, and everyone's still close and battling, which is surprising around such a long track.
Yeah, it's like you said, you never know what these tracks are going to throw up, and what different circuits are going to throw up as we take a good hard look at the battle from sort of 5th through to 7th. We've got Braden Snowden in there. Braden's been running many different evenings here. He hasn't done all of them, but he's done most of the main ones. He went really well on sort of the MX-5s at times, so Braden's showing a good showing here, chasing down Paul Blomqvist, obviously. So Paul Blomqvist getting plenty of coverage tonight. I think his dad Stig would be proud. And as we see Zach Blinko here running in P3, so he's not right on the bumper of Taylor Cockerton. As we head up through some of the faster sections over the far end of Spa here at the moment. So SVG's pinned the ears back, got the eyes forward. He's just chipping away, building that margin, driving the car really, really straight, not seeing any big amounts of slide in the car. So, as we said, it's only 8 laps, so we're not going to see a big amount of tyre dig you wouldn't expect here, given that the cars do produce quite a bit of aero. Would we expect over 8 laps any tyre dig or overheating or any of that sort of problem to come in this evening, Travis?
No, not at all. Not long enough for these cars to get tyre dig. These cars run big and long endurance races, so they're pretty good on their tyres, but it's all going to be down to damage and whether you got a draft or not.
Yeah, that's right. So it's all going on here as we go past the chicane, which is near the pit entrance there. So Paul Blomqvist getting a little bit of a tap up the back end from Nathan Anderson in the ITM livery there. So that's there's not many BMWs in the field here this evening, and there's 2 of them running side by side. So Nathan Anderson's got the job done on Paul Blomqvist. Brad Wenslick's got the job done there and into turn 1 or the last turn, depending on who you talk to, the hairpin, as they make the big fast run up to Eau Rouge here, turns 3, 4 and 5 before they jump up onto the top of the Kemmel Straight. Really rewards a brave driver through it, really make the aero work in that car, really sucks the car down to the track, producing heaps of lateral grip in the car. So Paulie B, Paul Blomqvist, he's gone defensive already, and we'll find as he head up into 7, 8 and 9 up through Locum, he's gone defensive, but he's actually also had a crack at the same time as well too. So this is really impressive racing, and we saw this last week, team, from that sort of 5, 6, 7 and 8. We had a bit of a gaggle of cars in that order there, and that's where our main race was sort of run, where the leaders were sort of running away from one another there, Travis.
Yeah, really good close racing at the moment, and obviously not a lot of, as they call, net coding, as I just speak of someone going around. It looked like Cameron Freeman got a bit of a touch from the pink Mercedes, so he'll be looking to get back and get his mojo back on. So
And you'll find that as we look at sort of our adjusted running order, and another thing to mention there, Toom T, is if you want some live timing, the guys Scotty Fountain and the team there at SimSpeed have got their live timing actually up on their website. So if you look up simspeed.tv, we've got all the lap times up there, and it's got it split up into sectors. We've got our red, green, and purple sectors that we always look for, obviously, when we're watching supercars and any of our Le Mans stuff, Formula One. So you've got that all right there in front of their team. So if all those fathers hanging off the back of their sons' simulators, egging each other on, telling the kids off they're not doing the right job, jump on that live timing, simspeed.tv, and you've got some really valuable data there written right in front of you. So as we go back to our leaders there, so once again, SVG's just been chipping away. We know that obviously Zach Blinko and Taylor are battling a little bit. We're not too sure about Shane's green wheels. We'll let him run with it for now, but certainly not the Red Bull 888 livery that we get used to him running in. So, but Shane's certainly running away with this at the moment as position 2 and 3 battle away a little bit. Blake Dowdle there in P4. He's managed to make his way through that group. And Paul Blomqvist, we haven't seen any footage of it, but he's actually dropped down to P15. So Paul's had an absolute shocker at some stage, and Andrew Waite's actually joined him in sympathy by the look of it as well. So 14 and 15 for those boys. And we might even go back and get a bit of a replay as we see them actually touring into pit lane. So maybe Paulie's a little bit dehydrated, just coming in for a drink maybe by the look of it. So here he is in P18 at the moment, the footage that on our replay that we're running. So he might be coming across this group in front of him, and we'll see how this pans out. So he's come across the Red Bull cars here in front. Our Red Bull cars were pretty prominent last week, so we see he's having a massive moment there through the big, long double left up through turn 12, and it looks like he's actually just given the race away, which is a bit of a shame. So he might come in and reset, obviously given that race 2 is reverse grid, so that's our modem simulation replay. Really handy bit of tech there, and we'll see what Paulie can come back in the next one, as we're running in P12 here with Oscar Goldfinch. A little over a minute off the lead, but it's these type of numbers that make up our heats as well too. We've got people from all sorts of different classes, different sim experience backgrounds, and at the end of the day, everyone's out there having an absolute ball and enjoying these KartSport events brought to you for the next couple of weeks by Brendan Gridley and the team at Tasman Kart Supplies in Nelson there. So halfway through there, Travis, and obviously no change up the front there, but a gaggle of cars that's sort of around that Zane Hills mark, 8, P9, P7, P6. This is that area where we've seen plenty of action, haven't we, Travis?
Yeah, Zane Hills and Nathan Anderson will be looking to move up the grid as their top 3 in points at the moment, and Taylor Cockerton is sitting in second. He is sitting in 4th in points, so he'll be banking a couple of good points here tonight.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Taylor certainly has done a good job in the last couple of weeks, and it's all about playing the long game. Obviously, having a ball while you're out there doing it, but thinking around that 3-week series as well too. So remember this is our second night into our 3-week Tuesday night series, brought to you by Tasman Karts, and then obviously our usual partners in Giltrack Group and Carter's Tyres as well too. So remember that live timing there, team. Simspeed.tv. I've got it running here in front of me, and it's got all of our sectors there. Makes it really, really handy. Obviously, at Spa here, running up to 5 sectors if you really want to get technical with it. So back to this battle here, P3, 4, 5, 6. So we've got a big gaggle of cars here, and is Nathan Anderson making his way through? Excuse me. Or is he? Looks like he's going defensive already as well too. So we're sort of getting into the late quarter of the race as well. So obviously Nathan's got his eyes fairly fixed in that rear vision mirror. Get those eyes forward, buddy. Concentrate on what's ahead of you, and you might be able to pull a bit of a gap away from Zach. But Zach's all over the back of him, and I would imagine, judging by the state of Zach's bonnet, he's not scared of getting his nose in there and doing half a move. So Nathan's going to be needing his eyes forward, trying to... he's not going to pull back that 17 seconds from SVG, I wouldn't imagine. So in the meantime, he needs to try and drive some clean laps, open those corners up, and try and hold these boys of Zach Blinko, Cameron Freeman, Braden Snowden, a couple of car links back there. But if he keeps chipping away, no doubt he'll probably get onto these boys if one of them actually makes a pass. Back to Zane Hills. Obviously, Zane, very experienced sim racer. Been doing lots in different formulas. So we see a massive moment there for, dare I say it, one of the Red Bull cars again. They're providing us plenty of damage, and that rear wing's looking pretty similar to what it was last week when he turned up in the middle of turn 1 in the middle of SVG in the lead pack. So the Red Bull Audis this week back to there, and that's Liam Matheson as well that we talked about last week there, Travis. So Liam's back in the thick of it this week.
Yeah, I believe Zach Blinko and Taylor Cockenden might have had it coming together because Taylor's dropped back down to 8th and Zach's back to 3rd and Nathan's caught up to them. So there must have been a bit of a tussle somewhere at some point. So it'll be interesting to see what happened there.
Yeah, that's right. We'll go back through the footage. So we'll dig out a replay here for your team of what's happened with Taylor Cockenden. So here's Taylor running clean by himself. And well, as we say, here we go. Here's the footage. So we head up into O'Rourke, places for it to happen. One of the fastest parts of the circuit. And dare I say it, if you're going to run side by side up through there, you've both got to be doing a pretty good job and being pretty respectful. And I think they both gave each other a little bit of room, but it looks like Taylor's just sort of lost the rear end of the car as they've got up into the first part of the right. So up through turn 4, which is the first part of the right hander up through there, and just lost the rear and ended up taking the 2 out, which is a bit of a shame. Nothing intentional, but just one of those things that you're going to get when you're running side by side up through there. So back through, obviously down to P6 here. Zane Hill's doing a good job trying to claw his way back. You can see he's using a lot less circuit than what Zach Blinko is. You can see he can run off the circuit a lot tighter, get the car a lot straighter, a lot quicker, and carry a lot more exit speed. So so you can see him really getting the car turned in quite narrow as well. Not using all of the apron on the outside. So, Zach's driving that thing at 99%. And as where you can see, obviously, Zane's just pulled it right back and probably only driving at 85%. Using up less tracks on exit, using more of the curb on the inside. So essentially, you actually want to wider than what it really is. So exactly what you do, like driving a Briggs, I'd imagine. Is that right, Tony?
Yeah, it's all about being smooth and not using the wheel too much, basically.
Yeah, that's right. So, and you can see Zane's a really, really good example of that. Getting the car turned in quite straight, using plenty of curb on entry, but then unwinding that lock, getting the car quite straight quite early. So, looks like he might have had a bit of a moment, maybe got a bit of aero wash at some stage, because he has actually dropped off the back of Zach, as he did charge it in pretty hard. Just running the matte black livery on his Audi R8 tonight. That looks pretty tough if you ask me. And we see him just trying to peg that margin back. So getting into the last couple of laps here, lap 7 of 8 is run. And no surprises, SVG well out in front. Over 20-second margin there on Nathan Anderson and P2. Cameron Freeman's done a good job. He's just been chipping away. That's the Invercargill driver. Braden Snowden there, P4. Really solid effort by Braden. He's just been chipping away, made a couple of passes, picked up on a few errors for some people. As we see SVG just have a bit of a moment as you get into the long right-hander down there as the circuit tapers off. So over this far end of the circuit actually drops away quite a bit, and then you climb back up through turn 17 and turn 18 towards the last chicane. So a lot of elevation here at Spa, which makes it a really, really cool circuit, as you can see as they drop down through there, and you can see that big elevation drop. So lots of camber in some of the corners, as we see Brad Wenslick getting together here in P10 with Blake Dowdle, and that's a massive moment. Blake's had himself parked on the outside there, and just literally had nowhere to go. The consuming car that came through, and would have caused a serious amount of damage, and gone for the escape and go and reset themselves for P2. So once again, once we get onto these faster circuits, you can see the accidents like that when you're running side by side can be fairly eventful. So as we jump on board there, so Matthew Griffin, a name we've seen plenty of action there. Obviously, previous E30 competitor. Plenty of karting at Mount Wellington. Him and his dad Laurie, big supporters of the sport there. And Matthew's also done some New Zealand touring car racing as well too. So cool to see Matthew coming back every week. He's a pretty busy boy now, got quite a big family now, so he's good for him to find the time this evening in between father duties to get himself out there and cut some laps this evening as we go into our final lap now. And obviously, counting down the laps, that's our 8-lap heat. So SVG well into his final lap now. And our running order so far, Nathan Anderson, Cameron Freeman, and is Braden Snowden in P4. So Zane Hills has managed to get the job done on Zach Blinko, and Taylor Cockerton's made himself way back up as well too after having that monumental moment too up at Eau Rouge. So Taylor Cockerton, good for him to get back up in 6th, and that's going to be good for his points, as we said, in the top 10 there, Travis, overall.
Yeah, Nathan Anderson in P2, he's going to be the big winner of this race with him already leading the points at the moment. So he's made well with all the carnage that's happened in front of him and managed to keep a clean race and bang some points.
Yes, as you said, that's a good points haul for him for the 3-week Tasman Karts Supplies series. So not only doing a good job, actually, on track, coming second to SVG. He's also grabbing some good points for the 3-week series. So Cameron Freeman also doing a good job there in P3. He's sort of been there or thereabouts in nearly every KartSport event that we've been doing, and good to see him finally get a podium place for all his efforts that we've seen over nearly every evening he's been running. Braden Stone still running P4, Zane Hills 5, Taylor Cockerton in P6. Liam Matheson's just sort of been pretty quiet there in that top 10 there, as we see SVG just finishing his lap off, coming up into the turn 19 and 20 chicane there. So really convincing win by Shane. Cool to have him come along and absolutely demolish all of us. So nice work, SVG. Good job. Started first, finished first, and as we can see then, and Nathan Anderson. So I got around a 25-second margin as these boys are coming up into the last complex there, turn 19, turn 20, the chicane, as it climbs up onto the pit straight here. Good job by Nathan Anderson, kept his nose reasonably clean the whole way through. Cameron Freeman will be in P4, Braden Snowden P4, Cameron Freeman in P3. Zane Hills, good battle back after that first lap contact for him. Taylor Cockerton, P6, also picking up the pieces after a slight bit of contact there up through Eau Rouge. Liam Matheson, Phil Winter, Oscar Goldfinch, Brad Winslick, and Daniel Harvey there as well. So just looking down the order there, P21, Ollie Workman. And you were saying, Tony, that he's certainly found a lot of good gains out of doing the sim race in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, I was talking to Ollie's father, Andrew, at the weekend, and Ollie's really come a long way, and he's putting it down to a lot of the sim racing he's been doing recently. And of course, he started out with no sim at all and was using his mouse there for a while. So, he's doing really well. I see he was in the top 10 at the start there.
Yeah, he's doing a good job. He was, reasonably high up in qualifying there earlier on as well, and really cool to hear feedback like that. They're sort of finding they're getting small gains at the kart track from doing the sim racing, and that's obviously where iRacing pride themselves on trying to get it as realistic as possible. While you can't drive a go-kart, obviously, you can still do plenty of laps in a virtual form like this. So really cool to see Ollie's finding that he's getting some gains out of it, and no doubt that'll transpire into some of the bigger coming events, which we'll talk about soon. So a couple of drivers that aren't there tonight. Like young Isaac Fletcher as well, who's been here previously. He's actually travelling up to Gold Star as we speak, so he couldn't make the meeting this evening. But as we take a very quick ad break, and we'll see you shortly for race 2. Full reverse grid, 8 laps very shortly there. Coming up, team.
This is fantastic. This is GT Racing right now.
He's got traction, he's going around the outside of both of them. Maloney!
Oh, he's taken Anderson. Anderson's up to
Oh my god! Big crash! Oh my goodness, half the field's gonna get rolled.
Six very close. These guys, I want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, there we go. Oh no, that's massive. This is it. This is over. I can't believe this. Oh my god.
God, what?
The following is a presentation of the iRacing Esports Network.
Have you ever thought about what's stopping you? Carter's Tyres is New Zealand's largest independent tyre dealer. 100% New Zealand owned and operated, they supply tyres to the biggest trucks and to the smallest family wagons. From tractors to racing cars. From the far north to the deepest south, Carter's Tyres fit the right tyres to the right vehicle. They sell 10 brands, not just one or two. And with over 20 years in the business, you can trust their tyres are as reliable as their word.
Carter's Tires. What's stopping you?
So, what's stopping you? Have you ever thought about what's stopping you? Carter's Tyres is New Zealand's largest independent tyre dealer. 100% New Zealand owned and operated, they supply tyres to the biggest trucks and to the smallest family wagons. From tractors to racing cars. From the far north to the deepest south, Carter's Tyres fit the right tyres to the right vehicle. They sell 10 brands, not just one or two. And with over 20 years in the business, you can trust their tyres are as reliable as their word.
Carter's Tires. What's stopping you?
So, what's stopping you?
The following is a presentation of the iRacing Esports Network.
All right, welcome back, KartSport family and friends. Race 2 coming up now. Same distance, 8 laps is the distance here at Spa, but we've got a full reverse grid from race 1. So obviously our results from race 1 get fully inverted, and our winners will be running off the back, and the people at the tail end of the field will be obviously running off the front. Everyone knows how reverse grid works. So looking forward to this. Got some real quick guys that'll be coming through. Another rolling start here tonight for all 3 races. And what are we expecting this time, Travis? Do we think the Eau Rouge chicane's going to be as kind as it was last time?
No, because there's fast guys at the back and slow guys at the front, so
Perfect. No,
that generally doesn't mix well through tight corners.
No, that's right. So it's not an equation that generally works out really well. So, but remember, we had a couple of quick guys that were running inside that sort of top 10 for a while. The likes of Paul Blomqvist, Andrew Waite, all those type of guys. They're going to be up near the front. So everyone's just gridding up now, all popping onto the server. We'll get everyone sorted out. And then, as we said, it's a rolling start here at Spa. So keep an eye on turns 3, 4, and 5 Eau Rouge as we make our way up through the chicane. Everyone looks to be in a very rough order there. And you'll see cars popping in and out. So there is obviously SVG at the back here in his 12C McLaren. He'll be running off the back with Nathan Anderson there alongside him. Mr. Coleman, he's going to be our leader out of Grid 1. Simon Burning Claridge out of 2. Josh Richmond, there's a name we haven't seen. Really successful Rotax light driver out of Auckland, out of the Dan Connor Racing stable, the Praga driver. Mitchell Sparrow there, P4. Darren Hazelby out of 5. Carson Daly. And obviously then we get into Andrew Waite, Paul Blomqvist. So looks like we've got a few dramas already at the start. People sort of struggling to get their heads around how it's all going to go. So we've got green. We're away here, team, as we make our way up to, as we've got an absolute massive amount of carnage even before we get up to probably the harder part of the circuit. And it looks like you'll see a couple of people skipping in and out. That's just their internet. You can see the fluoro yellow, white. And we see SVG just popping through the traffic there, trying to keep his nose clean. So we'll sort of just let the field sort themselves out at the moment. We'll probably see a few cars on their lid and a few panels getting torn off in this sort of first section of the lap here. As we go on board, you can see the nose of Taylor Cockinen has had a moment up there as well too, by the look of it, which is a bit of a shame. He's really struggling. Actually, can't even get that thing turned left. It's got that much damage. And so if we go back on board up towards our lead, so is that Andrew Waite disappearing off to the left, I think. So that's pretty standard for Waitey. He can't have his driving glasses on tonight. Maybe he's just got his reading glasses. So we can see the Audi of Andrew Waite there getting a quick repair, and there's plenty of other cars fairly scathed from that first lap there, Travis. Well, you picked it, mate, and she was pretty gnarly.
Yeah, good to see Gizzy got through though from the back of the field. So it'll be interesting to watch him come through all these slower drivers, and hopefully they can maybe hold them off for a wee bit.
Yeah, that's obviously SVG up into P12 already. You can see, quite a conscious start from him. He just picked his way through the carnage. Actually wasn't even driving the car fast, just keeping his nose clean. So that's obviously a massive moment there. So Zach Blinko's sort of given someone a bit of a hip or shoulder as we go around through the long double right, and disposed of them as we go up through the left-hander, climbing the hill. And this is down through the turn 12 section. Big, long left-hander. Got to be really patient through the first section of it. And then as we get up into, actually that was up and through 17, 18. So we're up into the chicane now. So just finishing off our first lap here at Spa as we make our way up onto the start-finish straight. So up on board with, P12 there. So that's Nathan Anderson. So he's actually following SVG through the field. So a really, really smart move on his behalf. Shane's car's looking really, really straight. There's no panel damage on it, so hasn't been actually fending anyone off on the circuit. So some nice clean passes, and Nathan Anderson's been making the most of that as well too. So up through Eau Rouge, real fast section as we see. I think that was Zach Blinko getting dispirited out on the right-hand side there. Paul Blomqvist is weaving all over the place. He's probably just trying to see where he's going, actually, just trying to lift his seat up a little bit, young Paulie. And he'll stay mid-track, heading out to the left here as we get up into the first chicane. And Paulie's trying to keep his nose clean, and that was through no fault of his own. Actually got sent off through Zach Blinko and one of the other cars. So we've got a bit of a replay here for us, team. This will tell us more what happened. So it all started back at Eau Rouge. So Zach Blinko's had a really big moment out of 3, 4, and 5. Up through the long Kemmel straight, really, really long straight here. Got a slight kink in it at the start. So they're running nearly up to 4 wide here. Paul Blomqvist out on the outside there, trying to keep his nose clean, and really 3 and 4 cars wide. Don't go up into that Lacoum into 7, 8, 9 into that section. So big shame for him. But no doubt, there's some guys had very similar accidents in the first race, but just got their nose down and actually made their way back through the field. So as we jump on board following SVG's progress, so he's just made the pass on Peter Romitz for the position 6. So 2 laps in, Shane's carving through them. So Nathan Anderson still back in 10 at the moment, bearing in mind he was behind SVG. So Shane's got a little bit of a margin on him through traffic. That'll help as Shane's coming up on the car of Mitchell Sparrow, as Nathan Anderson's just coming on the back of Zach Blinko. So hopefully Nathan doesn't get tied up with Zach like Paul Blomqvist did as they went up into the Lacoum chicane section there. So as we're about to finish off our second lap here, so Paul Blomqvist, so he's managed to sort of tidy things up, even though he's got half of his right-hand front wheel exposed. Very similar to the little Honda Civic he used to drive around the Auckland streets by the look of it. It's probably got the same amount of rust in it as well too. But Paulie's managed to make his way up into P3 after that. So really good recovery. He's got the McLaren of Ollie Workman, who we were talking about before. Young Ollie, who said he's got quite a few gains out of doing the last couple of weeks of sim racing. So that's really good to hear. Ollie Workman running out of P2. Josh Richmond, our leader, there with a little over 2-second margin there. So Josh will have the ears pinned back. He'll know by probably looking at the live timing there on the SimSpeed TV. If he hasn't, he'd probably want to get that up, keep an eye on those sectors and those splits of those faster guys coming through. So really cool livery there on the Ferrari of Josh Richmond, carrying very similar colours to our young Kiwi counterpart Jackson Evans, who actually had a win in Porsche Super Cup in the weekend. So that reminds us there of the livery that he's got on his car, very similar to what Jackson had. So really cool to see Jackson performing very well in Europe, much like the rest of our Kiwis, along with obviously Scotty Dixon had a brilliant performance with his win in IRL series in the States. Marcus Armstrong and performing very well, obviously in Europe as well there too. And Liam Lawson having a good performance in Formula 3. So Kiwi's doing a really good job in Europe at the moment. So Paulie Blomqvist making the pass for P2 there. He's really got the bit between his teeth, and no doubt he's going to try and peg back the gap to the leader there, and be cool for Paul to reward himself with a podium. He's been here most evenings, but normally just got the bad rub of the green when it's become to lapping or those type of things. But if you look closely, there in P5, all these boys are going to have their work cut out to keep at bay the Musminian Motorsport livery there of SVG. So as we've had a massive moment up through the long left-hand turn there, we might get a replay on that. It looks like Blake and Ollie have come together by the look of it. So Ollie's obviously carrying a fair amount of damage. We'll see what happened there. That was a little bit out of shot as he went up there. So Ollie's in the lead. Blake is shadowing Ollie as we come down through the long right-hander. And I'd say Blake's gone to put a pass on Ollie. So Ollie's nice and clean there, just running mid-track as we go through the left, down into the long left. Ollie's run narrow. So Ollie's actually had a bit of a moment, caught the inside curb. And Brad's just sort of been, he's just been held out there on the outside and through no fault of him. So we actually go on board here with Ollie. So he's turned in early, just caught the rear, and then obviously through no fault of his own, the following car has just caught the right rear guard of Ollie. So bit of a shame for both. So now Ollie's obviously carrying quite a bit of damage. You can see he's might have a bit of a puncher. So here we go on board with Blake. So we can see he's just caught the right rear guard of Ollie. So a bit of a shame there, Travis, as those boys that was developing into a good battle with the SVG behind them.
Yeah, Ollie was doing bloody well there, keeping his line clean, and they were doing some good passes. So it was good to see Ollie up in that top 5, but just one mistake and it's all over.
Yeah, that's right, especially through a long section like that. So Paul Blancos has got the lights flashing. Or maybe he's got a blown flues, we're not too sure, but he's all over the back of Brad Wenslick there, and he'll see SVG in the mirrors, and no doubt these boys are probably talking to each other as well too. So not sure if Paul's actually running this on his Twitch account tonight, or SVG is running the Twitch as well. So, but they'll be talking to one another, they'll be genning each other along, and no doubt whatever pass SVG's going to make will be a fairly clean one. And Paul will probably let him run with it as well, so he won't want to hold his teammate up. But in saying that, I've raced against Paul in indoor karts, and he does like to get his little short elbows out. He's not scared. So we'll see how this pass pursues, but I'd say it's going to be a reasonably clean one and straightforward. And SVG will want to get back up with those leaders. Although he is with the leaders, he'll want to get back on that P1 as soon as possible and try and do a bit of a clean sweep. So we've just gone halfway through our 8-lap heat here, and certainly provided plenty of action, as we said to Travis, with that reverse grid at the start, mate.
Yeah, it's definitely stirred the pot up, and we've got guys who are at the back of the field. They're still keeping up with the guys who were at the front, and we've got back runners who will just storm through the field.
Yes, that's right. And that's always to be expected, isn't it? We've always had those faster guys like your Taylor Cockerdins and Zane Hills, which we haven't seen pop up yet. So Zane was obviously involved in an accident. But, we've always seen those usual suspects come through the field, and they can actually get through without damage and try and make it actually through the leaders. So we see SVG's actually in there. As we come out through our Rouge, pops his nose out on Paul Blomqvist, and as they head up into Locum, up into 7, 8, 9, up into that complex, and make their way up the back end of the circuit. So really straightforward. Paulie gave him room, and now SVG is going to get his sights set on Brad Wenslick. So Blake Dowdle's still chipping away there in P4, and so these leaders all starting to sort of sort themselves out now. So it looks like Brad's had a little bit of an issue. Might have just locked the rears a little bit, but he's not backing off. He's got the right line for the left-hander. He's going to run SVG a little bit out of track there, so Shane was pretty kind there, just ran around the outside a little bit and kept his nose reasonably clean. He probably could have forced the issue a little bit more as we go down through the long turn 12 section, big long double left. You can see Shane running a lot narrower, so Shane's going to be on the right-hand side as we get up into 13 and into 14 here. So Shane's going to do half a move, thought better of it as we get down into the turn 15 and 16 seconds through Stavelot, and that's going to bring us back up all the way up to the chicane. So Shane's managed to get the job done. Brad's probably run wide, but he's keen. He's hanging on the outside. He's using the apron and more, and he's not scared. He's actually managed to pull that off, so I'm impressed with that. So SVG's in there wondering what the hell's going on, as he's actually managed to run the narrowest way circuit. So we're going up through 17 and 18 now. Shane's lining up a pass, uses all the apron on the right-hand side, as we're going to make our way up into the turn 8, 1920 chicane. Nice little manoeuvre there by Shane, gets the car stopped, and it looks like they're actually coming up to lap their Muzminion Motorsport teammate of Andrew Waite. So hopefully Andrew's actually got his eyes on looking in the vision mirror. So Shane's going to stay narrow into the hairpin, and he's going to try and hold Brad up on the left-hand side. Paul Blomqvist will follow him through, and as Paul's going to be nice and kind and actually give him far too much room on the outside. That's very much unlike Paul. So good job there by Paul, and that's actually going to give Brad the run as we head up into Rouge there, Travis. So that's a really cool bit of battle there, Travis. Good to see these boys doing a nice, clean job.
Yeah, very smart of Paul to pull out before going through our rouge there so that they can carry on racing and keep this great battle going. Shows you how much the draft is, though, when keeping this close together.
Yeah, that's right. So Paulie's managed to just get back inside Brad as they go up through 7, 8, and 9. And as we see, if SVG's in clear air now, so he's going to try and pull away. And if Paul can just get the job done, not do all these half-assed moves, actually get it in the hole, Paul, right up past the B-pillar, that's much better. So he's got the job done. He hasn't ran Brad out of track too much. So Brad can actually still run a nice clean line as we get down into the 10, 11, heading into the 12 section of turns there. So, and Paul's managed to get a gap as well. So he's done a good block pass and managed to get that gap out from Brad and Blake there in 4th. So, and don't forget Nathan Anderson running there in P5. So he's sort of got a 6-second margin off SVG there. He'll be chipping away. He'll be trying to get on to the back of Blake and Brad there in P4 and 5. So good chance to talk about why those leaders have actually sorted themselves out. Obviously Gold Star this weekend, their team, 170 plus entries. Our first big meeting back after obviously COVID, and we've got people travelling from all over the country to attend this meeting. I'll be there, so really looking forward to it. It's going to be good for the local club, for KartSport Hastings, and massive turnout obviously for the Gold Star series as well. So as we said, 170 plus entries. Obviously Tony, Tasman Karts team's bringing up around 4 to 5 people up from the South Island.
Yeah, we've got 3 from Nelson coming up, and there's 2 from Christchurch as well. So there's 5 of the team members heading up to Gold Star. Excellent.
So, and obviously we've got people travelling as far north as Auckland and as far south as Christchurch. So really cool to have people travelling across, and the likes of Brendan and the other South Island people supporting what's going to be a really big North Island event. So really looking forward to it. And great to be back with some full grids, and Hastings is going to be a very busy club leading up to their bigger meetings later on in the year with Blossom and North Islands as well too. And we'll talk about a couple of other big meetings coming up late in the year very soon in our telecast here. So on board with Blake as we head up into 7, 8, and 9. Really important braking. You really got to get the car stopped. You don't want to overshoot 7 because it makes 8 a lot tighter. And then if you get 7 wrong, obviously you're going to get 9 wrong as well too. So you really want to get the car as wide as you can, getting turned into turn 7, come off turn 7 reasonably narrow so you can get the car turned into 8. So as they make their way into the downhill section into 10 and 11, and then they climb up slightly through the Brussels turn and then down through 12, the big long double left. Really cool corner, this one. Really opens up quite a big passing opportunity as we see Aston Phipps and who else was that with? That was with Mr. Coleman. Yeah, with Leroy Stevenson, the South Island driver. So massive moment there with those two through a really fast part of the circuit. And so Leroy will be carrying quite a bit of damage there as well too, I'd say. So big shame for both those drivers. So Aston still doing a good job there in P12. A little over 1:50 off the leaders there. But he's got some fairly quick people around him, like the likes of Zach Blinko and the like, and other people running behind him as well too. So Aston's doing a good job there. He'll only try and keep his nose clean and try and bag some points coming up for race 2 after this. So obviously counting the laps down, only got a couple of laps to run here, team. So Blake Dowdle, pretty famous name we've seen every week as we get into the Shane, outbrakes himself a little bit and just gets into the right rear panel of Brad, but doesn't seem to affect each other too much. as we see the Mazminian Motorsport team running 3 cars deep. Obviously, Andrew Waite being lapped was always going to be a given. And Nathan Anderson, obviously, he can't quite really make inroads on these boys, so he's trying to get that margin down. It was a little over 6 seconds before, but you'll find now these margins are going to get harder to shrink for these guys because they're getting in amongst the people that are similar speed to them. So, whereas before they were running against a lot of people. So we've had a bit of a moment coming up out of Eau Rouge there. We've got a car parked up and someone stopping for a coffee break or something by the look of it. So as we take the long Kemmel straight up into 7, 8, and 9, as we said, this is the final lap. So Nathan Anderson, P5, he's going to really try and shrink out as quick as he can. Done. He's certainly going to run out of laps very shortly. And obviously, given the margin between Brad, Blake, and Nathan is so tight, it's probably going to take one of these boys to slip up for Nathan to actually make inroads on them. And as we go back to these 3 maniacs, obviously SVG is the leader. Andrew Waite making himself an absolute menace there, being that probably actually thinks he can actually unlap himself in the final lap, as Paul Wonkus' teammate gives him a good hip and shoulder and actually gets rid of him, and they can actually get back to some normal racing, and Andrew Waite can continue to understeer everywhere. So obviously SVG, your leader, Paulie Blomqvist in P2 there, and they've got a nice little 3-second margin on the guys behind them. So all going well. Neither of these 3 should trip up on one another, I wouldn't have thought, unless Andrew Waite might actually lose his mind here. And as we get up into the last couple of sections, so the end of the lap's actually counting down, and Paulie Blomqvist is going to run the car up high, and he's actually used all of the apron. He's actually managed to get alongside SV, get up into the chicane, and Andrew Waite thinks he can still unlap himself, so he's going to give himself plenty of room. There's nothing to battle there for Paulie B, so he's just going to sit there in P2. Nathan Anderson didn't manage to get the job done. He's going to finish in P5, and really stellar job by Blake Dowdle and Brad Wenslick there at P4 and P3. So Braden Snowden, he just had a nice clean race. He was chipping away there in P6, and all out there by his lonesome by the look of it. Looks like he's actually just out there doing a bit of a test. So good job by Braden to come home to 6. Simon Burling-Claridge, our steward from Wellington, P7. That must be probably one of the best results for him, I think. As we go back down our order here, so we catch some visuals of Simon just finishing his final lap off here. So well done to Simon. That's awesome. And no doubt he'll probably actually might be at Gold Star working next weekend. So another one of our volunteers there who'll be making racing possible next week. So Mike Muir, another one of our South Island drivers that Travis talked about, running in P8. So he's finishing his lap off, and a really good job by him. He just obviously stayed out of trouble. You can see the margins are quite big further down the results here. So these guys have just sort of got themselves through the field and got themselves into sort of a running against a lap time that they're reasonably happy with, and keeping themselves out of trouble. So Ollie Workman bringing home a fairly battered and bruised McLaren. So he's in P10. So maybe he's had a moment on the last lap, because to be running in P10 with that much damage, he's done a pretty good job. So Ollie's just skull dragging that McLaren home. So we might wait for him to pop into shot very shortly, no doubt. But good job by Ollie. And as Tony had mentioned before, he's got his full simulator running now with he's not driving on a mouse and a keyboard. So whereas if you did look at that, you'd think that he was actually driving on a keyboard as he links his McLaren home. There's actually not one straight panel on that thing. And no doubt he's not carrying the damage from earlier on, I wouldn't have thought. But he's doing a good job. Bring it on home, Ollie. Keep it straight there, buddy. And you'll bring home a well-deserved 10th place in that. So back down the field there. Phil Winter here. So obviously we're seeing Mercedes hasn't really got the advantage that they had at Phillip Island there, Travis. Seeing a bit of disparity now between the cars. And you certainly would have seen, obviously, Phillip Island, the Mercedes was quite dominant. And but now certainly is a little bit of a leveler here at Spa. So Phil having a nice little finish off there. So that concludes race 2, our full reverse grid. We're going to add up some points and be back with race 3, 8 laps very shortly, team.
This is fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction. He's going around the outside. Both of them. Maloney.
Oh, he's taken Anderson. Anderson's up to now.
Oh my God! Big crash! Oh my goodness, half the field's going to get rolled.
Six very close. These guys I want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, there we go. Oh no! That's massive. This is it. This is over. I can't believe this. Oh my God!
God, what?
The following is a presentation of the iRacing Esports Network.
Carter's tires. What's stopping you?
Have you ever thought about what's stopping you? Carter's Tyres is New Zealand's largest independent tyre dealer. 100% New Zealand owned and operated, they supply tyres to the biggest trucks and to the smallest family wagons. From tractors to racing cars. From the far north to the deepest south, Carter's Tyres fit the right tyres to the right vehicle. They sell 10 brands, not just one or two. And with over 20 years in the business, you can trust their tyres are as reliable as their word.
Carter's tires. What's stopping you?
So, what's stopping you?
The most realistic online racing sim ever made. This is iRacing. Detailed laser scan tracks, fully dynamic real world cars, and over 50 series to choose from. 6 online world championships offering over $100,000 in annual prizes. This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
Have you ever thought about what's stopping you? Carter's Tyres is New Zealand's largest independent tyre dealer. 100% New Zealand owned and operated, they supply tyres to the biggest trucks and to the smallest family wagons. From tractors to racing cars. From the far north to the deepest south, Carter's Tyres fit the right tyres to the right vehicle. They sell 10 brands, not just one or two. And with over 20 years in the business, you can trust their tyres are as reliable as their word.
Carter's Tires. What's stopping you?
So, what's stopping you?
The most realistic online racing sim ever made. This is iRacing. Detailed laser scan tracks, fully dynamic real world cars, and over 50 series to choose from. 6 online world championships offering over $100,000 in annual prizes. This is the original eSport racing game. This is iRacing.
My name is Stephen Corpenos. I'm a senior web developer here at iRacing, and I work on the beta UI. It's funny because iRacing has been around for 10 years, but we want to keep delivering the best possible user experience to our customers, and we've found that the old UI isn't exactly what we're trying to deliver in 2018. We want to use new features and provide the best possible experience when using the sim. One of the projects that I've been working on is some custom heat racing configuration for hosted races. We've been listening to our customers. Everyone's been asking for custom heat races. Maybe you want to tweak a few things with the preset iRacing configurations. Well, now you can using the beta UI. So once you're at the home page of the beta UI, you just go to create a race. Then from there you go to your set race options. And you'll notice here under event types, you can actually choose heat racing. First, I'm going to show you how to create a new format from scratch. You can choose the number of entrants. And as you can see, when I made that change, the change was actually reflected on the right side in the graph. Also, you can use the estimated duration at the bottom of the graph when you're changing the length to see what the total duration of your event will be. In addition, you can customize every aspect of the session information, practice, qualifying, heat races, consolations, and of course, the final feature race. Because the beta UI allows us to develop features that are robust and complex, this feature will be exclusively available on the beta UI. Once you've made all of the changes, you can hit save. Say you forgot what you selected. You can always preview it using the preview format button. We are very excited to release the brand new heat racing configuration feature that will be available in Season 3 of iRacing.
The following is a presentation of the iRacing Esports Network.
My name is Stephen Corpenos. I'm a senior web developer here at iRacing, and I work on the beta UI. It's funny because iRacing has been around for 10 years, but we want to keep delivering the best possible user experience to our customers, and we've found that the old UI isn't exactly what we're trying to deliver in 2018. We want to use new features and provide the best possible experience when using the sim. One of the projects that I've been working on is some custom heat racing configuration for hosted races. We've been listening to our customers. Everyone's been asking for custom heat races. Maybe you want to tweak a few things with the preset iRacing configurations. Well, now you can using the Beta UI. So once you're at the homepage of the Beta UI, you just go to create a race. Then from there you go to your set race options. And you'll notice here under event types, you can actually choose heat racing. First, I'm going to show you how to create a new format from scratch. You can choose the number of entrants. And as you can see, when I made that change, the change was actually reflected on the right side in the graph. Also, you can use the estimated duration at the bottom of the graph when you're changing the length to see what the total duration of your event will be. In addition, you can customize every aspect of the session information, practice, qualifying, heat races, consolations, and of course, the final feature race. Because the Beta UI allows us to develop features that are robust and complex, this feature will be exclusively available on the Beta UI. Once you've made all of the changes, you can hit save. Say you forgot what you selected. You can always preview it using the preview format button. We are very excited to release the brand new heat racing configuration feature that will be available in Season 3 of iRacing.
Have you ever thought about what's stopping you? Carter's Tyres is New Zealand's largest independent tyre dealer. 100% New Zealand owned and operated, they supply tyres to the biggest trucks and to the smallest family wagons. From tractors to racing cars. From the far north to the deepest south, Carter's Tyres fit the right tyres to the right vehicle. They sell 10 brands, not just one or two. And with over 20 years in the business, you can trust their tyres are as reliable as their word.
Carter's Tires. What's stopping you?
So, what's stopping you?
iRacing, you wanted the best. You got them for abreast. Often imitated, never duplicated. The greatest show on dirt. The world of outlaw.
Coming up to the line, being chased, and it was Braden Johnson. Unbelievable finish. It was 1/1000th of a second between them.
Green flag in the air. We are racing in the 2020 24 Hours of Daytona.
They go door to door for the feature race lead here on the last lap of the race. Side by side for the race lead in the final corner at Homestead.
Down the back straightaway, 3 wide again for the race lead. This is unbelievable stuff here tonight.
Aloma is going to have to be very deep on the brakes, and he is very deep on the brakes. It's side by side through the corner. This is for the win.
It'll be side by side. Davies low, Ottinger high. To the very inside is Garrett Low. 4 wide at the stripe. For all his work here on this outside line, neck and neck. Who's going to back out? Does anyone back out? Verstappen starts to squeeze on the inside, and now he'll try and straight line it. Goes under the apron, drag race to the line. It's so close to call.
My name is Steven Corpenos. I'm a senior web developer here at iRacing, and I work on the beta UI. It's funny because iRacing has been around for 10 years, but we want to keep delivering the best possible user experience to our customers, and we've found that the old UI isn't exactly what we're trying to deliver in 2018. We want to use new features and provide the best possible experience when using the sim. One of the projects that I've been working on is some custom heat racing configuration for hosted races. We've been listening to our customers. Everyone's been asking for custom heat races. Maybe you want to tweak a few things with the preset iRacing configurations. Well, now you can using the beta UI. So once you're at the home page of the beta UI, you just go to create a race. Then from there you go to your set race options. And you'll notice here under event types, you can actually choose heat racing. First, I'm going to show you how to create a new format from scratch. You can choose the number of entrants. And as you can see, when I made that change, the change was actually reflected on the right side in the graph. Also, you can use the estimated duration at the bottom of the graph when you're changing the length to see what the total duration of your event will be. In addition, you can customize every aspect of the session information, practice, qualifying, heat races, consolations, and of course, the final feature race. Because the beta UI allows us to develop features that are robust and complex, this feature will be exclusively available on the beta UI. Once you've made all of the changes, you can hit save. Say you forgot what you selected. You can always preview it using the preview format button. We are very excited to release the brand new heat racing configuration feature that will be available in Season 3 of iRacing.
Carter's tires, what's stopping you?
Have you ever thought about what's stopping you? Carter's Tyres is New Zealand's largest independent tyre dealer. 100% New Zealand owned and operated, they supply tyres to the biggest trucks and to the smallest family wagons. From tractors to racing cars. From the far north to the deepest south, Carter's Tyres fit the right tyres to the right vehicle. They sell 10 brands, not just one or two. And with over 20 years in the business, you can trust their tyres are as reliable as their word.
Carter's tires, what's stopping you?
So, what's stopping you?
This is fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's got everything outside of both of them. Maloney! Oh, he's taken Anderson. Anderson's up to him. Oh my God! Oh, big crash. Oh my goodness, half the field's going to get rolled.
Six very close. These guys I want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, there we go. Oh no, that's massive. This is it. This is over. I can't believe this. Oh my God.
God, what?
The following is a presentation of the iRacing Esports Network.
All right, welcome back there, KartSport family and friends, drivers, parents. Sorry about the delay. Just a little bit of time going through sorting out the grids and the points and bits and pieces. So we've got on top of that, and we're ready to go for race 3 this evening, which, as we said, is obviously 8 laps again, so go on the same distance. And but what we'll be doing is combining our points for race 1 and race 2. and obviously results so far. A dominant performance by SVG there, winning both races. And so stellar performance by him. Really cool to have him come along and drive. And Paul Blomqvist was our second place man in the last race as well too. So obviously adding up all our points to take us through for our final heat tonight there, Travis. 8 laps. What are we predicting there, buddy?
Well, I think Gizzy's going to storm off at the start. Boys behind him, they're going to have a pretty good old battle, I would say.
Yeah, well, obviously wait and see what happens. It's going to be an absolute barnstormer race. It'd be a good 8 laps to finish off the evening this evening. So actually looks as though my feed has gone down. I can't actually see anything at my team.
Here we go.
There we go. Perfect. Now we're all up and running. My Taranaki internet is playing the ball there, team. So that's all right. So we've obviously got Scotty Fountain based in the UK, and so he's running all of this from his UK base, 8 o'clock in the morning over there. We'll talk to Scotty more further on as we get into the race. So we've got people from all over the world bringing you the coverage this evening. Obviously, Travis Smith bringing the coverage from out of Dunedin. And obviously we've got Tony Dyer joining us from Nelson, obviously from the Tasman kart side of things. And myself and Taranaki and Scotty Fountain all the way in the UK. So she's a multinational, internationally crew bringing you the race this evening there, team. So we're about to get underway here, team. 8 laps is the distance. SVG running off the pole, Nathan Anderson off grid 2. And we've got some heavy hitters running all the way back through that top 10. Keep an eye on Paul Blomqvist in P8. Other people like Aston Phipps, P13. Liam Matheson, P10. He's been not scared to run a few panels the last couple of nights. And we're green, we're away there, team. So we are 3 wide as they head up into Eau Rouge. And we've got a couple of cars drop. Someone's nearly ended up in pit lane. So it looks like SVG's been pipped off the start there, team. Daniel Harvey, the Dunedin drivers, managed to get in front there. So good start for the Dunedin drivers there, Travis.
Yeah, that's actually Jackson Harvey, the junior Rotax driver out here. He will be pleased with that manoeuvre, getting past Gizzy on the start line.
That's right, yeah. So obviously Daniel Harvey, the entry there. So as we get up into the first chicane, obviously cold tyres there, team. Everyone will start to be sorting themselves out. So there's a couple of people just straggling at the back there, just dragging their cars as they come up the Kemmel Straight there. So they'll be going back for some quick repairs, no doubt, as we get back on board our leading group. So all those familiar names that we talked about. So Zach Blinko, Blake Dowdle, Braden Snowden, Paul Gongas there in P7. So SVG's actually dropped back to P8. So he's had a bit of a mare of a start on cold tyres. So either he's wanted to get back there and run the race with Paulie and see how it goes, or he might have got the hip and shoulder from someone. So, he might have run out of talent. So we know that he's done a fair amount of car racing. He's certainly not short of laps, and certainly at Spa, he's probably done the most laps in real life, or the only laps in real life out of anyone. So we'll follow SVG's progress as he hunts down the back of Paul Blomqvist's BMW there. Obviously, Paul, for those that didn't know, is the son of Stig Blomqvist, very famous World Rally champion, and based over here for a while with both Tom and Paul when they were racing karts. Stig now based full-time up in Sweden, runs his own ice driving academy up there. As we jump on board with Braden Snowden in P3 there as he's hunting down Nathan Anderson. So Braden looking very racy on cold tyres. That the old satin black Mercedes, really tough looking car there, and obviously Blake Dowdle behind him. So looks like Braden's run a little bit wide as you come off the exit of turn 20 there as we take the start finish line to start another lap here at Spa. As they head down into the hairpin there, Scotty, as we watch this intense battle ramping up behind SVG and Paulie Blomqvist.
Yeah, you're certainly right, mate. I'll tell you what, this young kid on screen now, Liam Matheson, we saw him have a bit of a mare last week, but we heard that he put in plenty of practice laps, and the first 2 races were seen some fantastic driving from him. So, a bit of a moment there for him, though. He did well to catch that one.
Yes. Looks like Zach's obviously got right into the back of him as they've gone up through Eau Rouge and unloaded the back of him. But
Here we
Liam's
go.
done a
Car
good job.
parked on the
He's getting into
I spoke too
and
soon.
we've got a car parked on the pole, and that's it. So we've actually put the commentator's curse on him there, I think. So all that practice has come to nothing. We invite Scotty into the commentary box, and he turns everyone's race upside down. So that's fantastic. But
yeah, maybe I should just stick at clicking buttons, Tony.
No, you're doing good, mate. You're doing good. So, Paulie Blomqvist, SVG, these boys are obviously back 5 and 6. So, sort of just over 3.5 second margin. So, I'd say Paul's going to try and put in some clean laps, see if they can get up onto that group of Blake Dowdle, Braden Snowden, and Nathan Anderson. You know, they're in that sort of attack range. You know, they just need to keep their nose clean. Obviously, having those guys just in front of him is a good carrot for Paul. He can brake a little bit later, get into the turn a little bit quicker, and you can see they're just within striking distance. So I give it a laps. They should be on these boys, all going well there, Travis.
Yeah, it's good to see Jackson still up in the front there, holding it off, as he's only finished 9th and 11th in the last 2 races. So it'll be interesting to see how long he can hold off the guys behind him and whether he can keep this lead going.
Yeah, he's doing a bloody good job there, young Jackson, in P1. So it'd be the first time he's sort of led a decent couple of laps. And, you know, he's in a GT3 at Spa. It's not the most easiest formula. So he's doing a really, really good job. You can see his lines are really clean. He's not overshooting the chicanes there. So he's hitting his marks and doing an absolute stellar job. So we'll keep an eye on him. He's got just a little over 7/10 of a margin on Nathan Anderson there. So he's opened the hairpin up really well. Doing a really good job. So he's getting good drive off there. He actually pulled a bit of a gap on Nathan as they pulled out of there. So Jackson's performing very well at these early stages. 3 laps in to our 8-lap race. So as we take on some visuals of Andrew Waite just trundling around in P19. Not sure what he's doing, no doubt. So,
we haven't
what do
seen
you think about that, Scotty?
We haven't seen a good performance from him tonight. Been tangled up in carnage. A good little battle there towards the end of that second race, although he was a lap down with his teammates, but certainly wasn't afraid to get his elbows out there. Good to have Andrew on for the last, I think 3 weeks he's been here. So did all right in the trophy trucks at Belle Isle when we were there. And yeah, fantastic.
So, yes, I think Paulie Blomqvist mentioned to me that Andrew might have let the Musminian Motorsport team down actually in that last race. So they're a little bit disappointed with him being a lap down. And he did do a good job in the trophy trucks, Andrew. And maybe he's getting a little bit older now. So maybe he's better suited to something that's a little bit more softly sprung and a little bit more leisurely to drive. Maybe this GT3 stuff's a little bit too hard from our old weighties. So anyhow, as we jump back on, we've got Blake Dowdle here, P4. This has been the battle. These guys have been battling every race. So Braden Snowden doing a really, really good job. He runs a little bit wide off the left there, makes the left a little bit tighter for himself, but uses the apron of the curb on the right as they get down into the right-hander as we're down through that bottom section of track, down through the big, long double right. Braden's got in there a little bit hot, used a little bit more of a curb on the left-hand side. And this run here will as they start to finish off their 3rd lap down through 17 and 18, this will take them up towards the chicane before the start-finish line. And as we see, obviously, Blake Dowdle using plenty of track on exit there as well. So he's managed to get himself on the left-hand side and out-brake Braden into the first part of the right-hander through the chicane. So that's an absolutely massive move. And it looks like Blake actually lined that up back at turn 18 where he's used all the apron on exits. So that's one place off the list for Blake. He's made his way into 3rd. And in the meantime, SVG is hunting down Braden as we get down into the hairpin. Braden's just overshot the braking point a little bit. And SVG's managed to get a reasonably good drive off there. They'll run 2 wide as we head up into Eau Rouge, Scotty.
Yeah, yep. See him just back out there. Probably a sensible move. Not that easy to go 2 cars wide through that section of track. We saw Taylor Conkerton come together with another car in the first race through that section. But yeah, no, great racing so far. And this GT stuff, you really need to just be a gentleman and try not to have too many panel contact moments to be able to be fast, especially on this track. Such slipstream, it's what you need really. Any little bit of panel damage and you're going to be out the back door. So this weekend, actually, we've got the iRacing official Spa 24-hour, which will be pretty cool. We had the Le Mans 24-hour only a few weeks ago, and I think there was, actually this car that Shane's driving at the moment, they won in their split, and normally there's 3,000 or 4,000 people turn up to race in an iRacing official 24-hour event. So plenty of practice for these guys tonight for that event this weekend.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I think SVG was driving with Paul and Andrew Waite and a couple of others as well too to win their class in the Porsche GTE class, I think, wasn't it? So those boys done a stellar job there. And talking to Paul Blomqvist about it, he said the driver stints, because they're all in different countries and bits and pieces. He said it took a bit of managing, but really cool to see them come away with the win. So massive moment there. So we've had, was that a lap marker come into play, I think, by the look of it?
Yeah, I want to go back and have a look in the replay, and we'll see what's going on.
It looks like the McLaren of Ollie Workman, just judging by the livery on it.
Yeah.
So as we jump on board here with Shane, and we'll see we're coming up just through the tail end of the circuit. We're not far off finishing the lap off as we go for the last couple of corners. So they had a moment in front of him, and he's just there to pick up the pieces. So Shane was just a passenger from there on in. So from no fault of his own, Shane's been taken out of that lead bunch. So big shame for him. He was pushing on, and probably would have got on board and really made an absolute barnstorm of a race as we jump back on board with our leaders. So these boys are running hard, 3 wide as we go up the Camel straight up towards turn 7, 8 and 9. Who's going to be the last of the late breakers? We're running 3 wide at the moment. The leaderboard can't even keep up with it. Blake Dowdall's managed to get the job done. Awesome job. Nathan Anderson manages to keep P2, and then Jackson Harvey there in P3. So really good driving by all those guys. Braden Snowden's going to be there to pick up the pieces. He's going to shrink that margin to P3, and then Paul Blomqvist still running around there in P5. So obviously, first-time person in the commentary box tonight. We've got Tony Dyer joining us from Tasman Karts, who are our sponsor for the next couple of weeks. Really cool to have Brendan Gridley and his team on board. So, so far, what are your thoughts of the iRacing and the KartSport platform there, Tony?
It's pretty good. I'm all pretty green to all this kind of thing. I had a go on Brendan's sim a couple of weeks ago, and it's a lot harder than what it actually looks. You've got actually no feeling of driving a car. It's only just coming through your hands. So I'm really impressed with the way these guys are driving. Yeah,
it gives you a good perception when you actually see how well and how fast these guys can drive these cars. When you actually do jump on a sim, and you have force feedback through the wheel, and if you've got a good pedal box, you get a bit of force feedback through that, but you don't have that seat of the pants feeling that we talk about in a kart or in a car, in a Formula car, do we, Tony? So it certainly is quite foreign for us older jokers, eh?
Yeah, we're the older generation that never really grew up with that sort of thing. So yeah, it's a little bit difficult for us.
Yeah, that's right. So, but it certainly does give you a good appreciation when you see these guys turning laps in the way they do. So as we get up into lap 5, so we've got all sorts going up here, up at the chicane, and who would it be right in the middle of that? Andrew Waite. And he's nearly taken his teammate out there. So it looks like Andrew's just going to take a tour off straight into the pit lane and get that damage fixed. So we see Zach Blinko's just absolutely
had a big
really struggling with the massive amount of damage already, even before he got in the fence.
I reckon that
there, Scotty.
Paulie Blomqvist, he could be in a good position here. We saw he was quite quick in that last race. And, had a fair amount of pace to be able to keep up with Shane. So if he can manage to get past these guys, he's got 3.3 seconds to the lead car of Blake Dowdall, who is very quick. So, he's not going to want to muck around. He's only got two laps here to kind of get it done. Is that Liam Matheson? Who
have we got here running on the pole line? That familiar Red Bull Audi.
Yeah,
he's managed to keep the car to the left this time.
Yes, it is Liam Matheson. So not taking the cars out this time. He has done a fantastic job all night. And I put the commentator's cursor when I first jumped in on the comments box here, but looking a little bit further up there, Paulie Blomqvist doing a fantastic job. And this battle really heating up.
And as we say that, Liam Matheson was running wide, letting everyone go by. Now he's got the bit between the teeth and he's trying to unlap himself again. So Liam's right in amongst this battle. And as we jump on board, we followed Paul Blomqvist here. So he might have got a bit of data off his brother, Tom Blomqvist, who was a BMW D10 factory driver in Europe. So he might have got a bit of data off Tom, and he's got the setup on the Musminian Motorsport BMW GT3 tonight, and he's pulling away from these boys. So if he can chip away 4.5 seconds, be good to see Paul get up and battle with Blake up the lead there. So visually, quite a big gap you can see, but I reckon if he can get his eyes forward, not worry about Daniel Jackson, behind him, he should be able to get to those leaders. We've got about 2 laps to go, so it might be a bit of a tough task from there, Travis.
Yeah, but with that draft, he will hope to stay in contention of being at the end there. If Paul can drag him along.
Yeah, you can see where Blake's just going through this. So we've got a visual on that gap now, team. So you can see that here. So this is going to be good for Paul. He'll be able to use that visual gap. He'll be able to brake a little bit later. Got that moving carrot. So brake a little bit later, get the car turned in maybe a little bit earlier, diamond that corner off, try and shorten the corner up a little bit, and then not trying to use too much road on exit. So as we see the boys back in 6th and 7th place, so Aston Phipps there in P6, being nice and kind as they get up into the hairpin there. Nathan Anderson P4. Zane Hills had a very up and down night tonight. Zane has very experienced sim racer, running the matte black Audi tonight. So it'd be good to actually see Zane maybe get inside that top 3 as well to back up where he sort of has been before. These boys are going hammer and tong as they get up into 7, 8, and 9 there, Scotty.
Yeah, there we go. Great racing here. Nathan Anderson, he has had a lot of pace in these GT cars. We saw it last week. Just want to take note on this person jumping on screen now, Brad Winslow. Fantastic drive that I thought in the last race. Really stuck it to those guys and a great result in the end. I don't think Paul Blomqvist is going to be able to chase down that gap. That Mercedes out in front of Blake Dowdall, the Mercedes seems to have the horsepower on the straights tonight. Even the McLaren, we saw Shane Van Gisbergen in there, he was trying to get past. Normally the McLaren's got plenty of straight line speed, but the Mercedes just seems to be pulling it down the straight. 4.4 seconds between first and second now.
Yeah, we certainly saw last week at Phillip Island, didn't we? The Mercedes did have an advantage there with it being such a high terminal speed, and just looking on the simspeed.tv live timing at the moment, you can see Blake's splits popping up and Paul's splits popping up, and there's just, Paul is shrinking the margin in places, but then Blake will pull it back in another split. So it's going to be a tough old ask for Paul to get up onto Blake. 4.5 seconds, as you said, Scotty, 2 laps and counting. It would be nice to see him get up there and battle for that lead, but it might be a bit of an ask given that we are running out of laps. So he's had a bit of a moment, Paulie, as he gathered it up. It looks like he's locked the rears. Once again, that commentator's curse. Maybe we need to stop talking about these people because we end up wrecking their races. He's had an absolute gutsful and he's going straight into pit lane. And he's thrown his toys out completely. So that's a shame for Paulie. He was doing a good job there.
He was.
Hunting away that leader, but not quite his night there in the end. So as we jump on board here, so we've got Aston Phipps there in P6. And no, where are we? Sorry, my visuals have just changed. So Phil Winter there, P7. Leo Scott there in P8. So we've got a McLaren chasing down a Mercedes. So certainly didn't really notice it early on, but those Mercedes really starting to stretch their legs here. And you can certainly see a little bit of an advantage in that. Back up with our leaders here. Jackson Harvey, Nathan Anderson, the 2 young drivers, as we get up into turn 7, 8 and 9. Really, really crucial set of turns. You've got the big, fast run down the Kemmel Straight, and after 7, 8, 9, that takes you down into the Bruxelles, down into turn 10 and 11, into the bottom half of the circuit. As we said, lots of elevation change here at Spa. This is a really cool section as we go through here, through the long couple of rights. A lot of long double apex turns here. Really rewards a very patient driver. Down through 11, and now we get the short run down into turn 12. So this is a big, long double left-hander. Don't get the car turned in too tight, because then you'll run out of room on the apron, just as we saw then. And then through the last long left, and you'll head downhill into 13, 14, 15 and 16 to take you back up the hill. So on board here, how's this? Some really, really great visuals as we're on board here with Jackson Harvey, and very similar to actually how you see the cars in real life. Plenty of carbon, no carbon spared in the build of these vehicles. Zane Hill's trying to chase down young Jackson there. So Jackson's doing a really good job holding off some of the protagonists of our KartSport event. As you take a look on the Guilt Trap Group leaderboard there, that margin for Blake, 7.5 seconds now. Pretty hard ask for these boys to trim that off in this last lap here, Travis.
Yeah, it's been a bloody good race for Jackson Harvey there. He's managed to get himself on the podium and around some pretty fast sim races.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So, fantastic night of racing, and then obviously that leads into a fantastic couple of weeks of racing on our kart tracks. Obviously, as we said, Gold Star coming up this weekend, 170 plus entries, leading into some really big races at the end of the year. The Jason Richards Memorial Grand Prix at Nelson over November, always a really big one for your calendar down there, Tony.
Yeah, that's right. Nelson was Jason's home track, and it's more of a celebration than a memorial for Jace. And anyone who knew Jace, he was your mate, and he had lots of mates, and we'd like to celebrate that.
Yeah, that's right. And obviously you spent a lot of time growing up with them, didn't you? And raced against one another, so spent a massive amount of childhood with them. I sort of grew up. Jason was always one class ahead of me when I was growing up in karting, so I got to watch him progress, and obviously into race cars as well, and raced against him at various meetings in Christchurch later on when he would come back and race in the Enduros and stuff. So certainly would be a meeting that I'd probably look at coming down to late November. Sounds like it's going to be a good weekend there, Tony.
Yeah, well, it's got a great format. I mean, it's a 2-day meeting, and to run a 40-lap race at the end, it sort of really adds something to it at the end, and yeah, everyone loves it. Yeah,
no, that's cool, most definitely. So one of many KartSport events to keep an eye on your calendars there, teams. So that concludes our race 3 there, team. 8 laps, run and won by Blake Dowdall. So Paulie Blomqvist was coming at him quite hard, but had a big moment up there into the chicane, which is a bit of a shame. Probably wouldn't have got to him. But so all in all, that should probably put Blake in good stead for the overall points, I would have thought there, Travis.
Yeah, it should give him a good points haul for tonight. He was sitting 9th before coming into tonight's racing, so it'll be interesting to see where he ends up after I tally them all up and post them.
Excellent, that's right, yeah. So Travis will get all the points, all tallied up, post them up on the various pages, on the Discord, up on the Facebook page, and make them all available for everyone. So that concludes our second night here, team. GT3 at Spa, brought to you by Brendan Gridley and the team at Tasman Kart Supplies. Thanks, Tony Dyer, for joining us in the commentary box. Hope you enjoyed it, mate.
Yeah, thanks, mate. Thanks for having me.
Excellent, no problems, and hopefully catch you at a Briggs event, no doubt, very soon, mate. Look forward to jumping back at those at some stage. Obviously, Travis Smith joining me in the commentary box as well. Scotty Fountain over there in the UK. And we'll look forward to bringing you GT3 from Monza next week. Thanks to, once again, Tasman Kart Supplies, our usual partners, Guilt Trap Group and Carter's Tyres. Keep an eye on the Facebook pages and the Discord for more information, and we'll see you next week. Thanks very much.
This is fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction. He's going in the outside. Both of them. Maloney.
Oh, he's taking Anderson. Anderson's up to him.
Oh my God.
Big crash. Oh my goodness, half the field's going to get rolled.
6 very close. These guys, I want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, there we go. Oh no, that's massive. This is it. This is over. I can't believe this. Oh my God.
God, what?